Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Jablons, and I'm excited to be here today to present this webinar for you called How to Make 2021 Make Up for 2020. We all think that 2021 is going to be better than 2020 because how could it not be, right? But we want it to be more than just better than 2020. We want to figure out how do we make up for 2020. So there's lots we can do to make that happen. And so I'm excited to present this to you today. And I want to start by thanking my friends over at IMS for sponsoring this webinar. Super glad to be here. And my thanks to Jim Schrader and Tom Schrader and all the Schraders and everybody over there at IMS for your help and your participation in this. The goal of this is to give you guys as retailers just something a little bit more to think about in terms of how do we do a little bit better in the coming year? How do we actually make 2021 not just be a little better than 2020, but how do we make it even better than that still? Okay, so here we go. So first, a little bit about me. My company is called Retail Smart Guys. I've been in retail for a little over 40 years myself. So give you an idea of age. um, we specialize in merchandise planning, open to buy, inventory control, cash flow planning, and that sort of thing. We do it for retailers in 16 countries today. I'm very, very closely tied to IMS and Retail Pro along those lines. So I do that. I'm based in Los Angeles, and since I live in Los Angeles, I think it's a rule here or a law in Los Angeles that 1 out of 3 people in Los Angeles also has to say they're an actor. But as you can see in this little slide here, I actually was on Curb Your Enthusiasm for a little while, and then there's a picture of me in a recent commercial I did for Facebook. So I get to do both of those things, but really most of my time is spent in the world of retail and helping retailers become more successful. And so that's a little bit about me. Now, as we come into where we're at right now, and looking at what's going on in terms of COVID and the vaccine and all that stuff's happening right now, it is a time unlike any other where we have to have a tremendous amount of energy and excitement about the business that we're in. Okay. People have been shut into their houses and wearing sweatpants for forever and stuff like that, and they are dying to get out again. They're dying to party again. They're dying to eat in restaurants again. They're dying to travel again, and they're dying to collect again, to be in large groups and stuff like that. So, and a lot of it's still not available to them yet, or rolling slowly, right? So retail is still the number one entertainment thing they have to do right now. So it's a time to really get pumped up about your retail business. It's time to make sure that you're expressing a great deal of enthusiasm. And I can tell you this, even in the height of the pandemic, when things were at their absolute worst in this country, and even as things started to get better and people were coming out of the pandemic, the stores that I worked with that were doing better, that were actually getting some decent sales and turning their inventory well, did it because they had a tremendous amount of energy and were attacking their business. The ones that kind of went, yeah, the virus is here and we're not going to do any business, well, they were right. They didn't do any business. So, it's a time to get pumped up. It's a time to not ignore the other things that are happening. You certainly still want to, stay safe and keep others safe and, social distance and wear the mask and all that good stuff. You still got to keep all that going. But do not get drawn into the negativity. Do not start freaking out about what's not happening, that kind of stuff. I've said this for a long time. Actually, I started Retail Smart Guys in 2006, 2007 when the big recession happened. So, uh, I learned at that moment in time that even in the worst of economic times, retail can do great as long as everybody kind of thinks about turn and thinks about demand and really tightly controls that inventory. And certainly being on a good point of sale system like the one that IMS provides is critical to that. But on top of that, I think you also have to plan your inventory, plan your sales, and plan your turns. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, because we work with independent retailers in 16 countries, both IMS and us at Retail Smart Guys are constantly and consistently collecting up what people are doing to be successful in retail right now and how the changes in the economy, changes in the climate, changes in the virus, changes in all that stuff are affecting everything. So please stay closely connected. I'm going to put my contact information at the end of this so you can reach out to me if you want to. But please stay connected to us because we're here to basically make sure that independent retail thrives and survives and that, again, 2021 makes up for what we didn't get in 2020. Okay. Now, so I broke this down into 3 areas of things you got to do, right? One certainly is the inventory. That's the most important thing that there is, right? It's your best weapon. It's your worst enemy if you get the wrong stuff. But it's also the thing you spend the most money on. So it's something you really have to manage and curate. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's working right now in terms of marketing. What are people doing that's successful, that's actually driving sales and driving business and driving interest in what people do? And I'm going to talk a little bit also about how people are selling and what their sales look like to be effective and efficient in this day and age. Okay, so we'll go through each of those 3 sections. So we'll start with the inventory. So the reason it's the first topic is I believe as a retailer, it's got to be your biggest priority. And why? Because you spend more on inventory than anything else. It costs you, you put more money into inventory than rent, than people, than utilities, than technology, than any of it. And so your inventory has to be the centerpiece of everything. It's got to be well manicured. It's got to be assorted well. It's got to be perfect now. And the thing that I'm telling everybody right now across the United States, across the world, is that at this red hot second, uh, um, it's more important to actually turn faster than anything else. Okay. That said, a turn has always been super important, right? Turn has always been one of the more important things that you have to look at in terms of your retail business. But right now, it's more important than ever before. Turning quickly is how you maintain cash flow. It's how you keep the cash in the business. It's better than anything else that's out there. So let me just give you a simple math example of what that looks like. Okay. Oh, but also one other point I have on the slide that I want to make sure of is that you should also be looking at your older inventory, right? Look at stuff you've got that's older than 90 days, older than 120 days. What is that? It's tying up your dollars, and you want to get your dollars out of that and into fresh inventories that you can turn quickly. But turn is everything. It is the key to the kingdom. And to the degree that you turn well, to the degree that you actually will make some good money in the business right now, even in these difficult times. Okay, so look at this math example. Let's just say you've got a store that's doing $1 million a year, and right now their inventory completely turns over 2.5 times a year, which means their average inventory at cost is about $172,000, based on it being an apparel or a shoe retailer. Okay, all right. So now what if I actually did better by just a half a turn? I got my turns from a 2.5 to a 3, which doesn't seem like a lot. But what that means is that over the year, your average inventory, instead of being $172,000, is only $143,000. Okay, which means I pick up almost $29,000 in cash. That's money that's going to be in your bank account that you're not spending. That's better than a lot of PPP money out there. Okay, it's good money and it's all yours to keep. Okay, what if I got it to be a full turn better? What if I got to a 3.5 turn? Okay, well, it means I got from 172 to 122. I pick up $49,000 of cash. So turn is king, and now you can see why, right? The faster you turn, the less cash you have to outlay, and the more money you keep in your bank account. Some of this is very basic for some of you. Some of you, it's a reminder, but it's the kind of thing where, like, we get lost in it sometimes because we're thinking about what we're buying. We think about what we think our customer wants, that sort of thing. We're not thinking about our inventory, and the inventory turn is the way to make money in retail. There's just no other way to say it. Okay, so is it possible to get faster turns now and during and after the COVID thing? Okay, well, sure it is, but how do you do it? Well, first off, you have to have an achievable sales plan that's realistic. You have to have a sales plan that makes sense to you. And I've gone through it now where a lot of people have just been super pessimistic and created a ridiculously low sales plan. I've had other people that, are trying to pretend like the thing didn't even happen. Um, uh, and I think having a realistic and achievable sales plan is everything. When we forecast, I mean, obviously, because we work with the number of retailers that we do, we have the industry's largest independent retail database. So we're able to see trends and things before anybody else can, for sure. Okay. So the first step is, do we have a viable sales plan that makes sense? The second thing is do we have a real inventory plan that makes sense? And probably the most important element of that is, are we targeting our end of season inventory? Do we know where we want our inventory to end at the end of the season? That is key. It drives it drives turn, but it also helps you reduce markdowns because you're not buying into goods that you have to get out of really quick because now the season's over and you want to get into the next thing. Okay, so planning your sales and planning your ending inventory is kind of everything, right? And I put in red here. It's the core function of profitable retailing. And it is the difference between good retailing and great retailing, right? To the degree that I plan the sales well and to the degree that I plan the ending inventory well is to the degree that I can actually spend less money on inventory, spend less money on markdowns, drive better profitability, drive better margins, which is going to give me better cash flow and probably better market share too if we do it well. Okay, so I can't emphasize this enough. Okay, it's super vital that we get this done the right way. Okay, so there you go on that one. All right. Um, now, how do we get better margins? Here's the thing: discounting now is not the answer. Okay, it is not the time to discount in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Now is the time to basically continually promote and drive your business through new, fresh, fun, exciting inventory. Now, many of you know that fresh inventory has always been the way that we get good sales, right? Customers like the newest, the freshest stuff. You may not know this, by the way, but the worst open rate that there is when you look at your open rates on email, the worst open rate is sale. Okay. The best open rate that there is, the best open rate that there is new, fresh, exciting, fun inventory. Okay. Um, so, you know, keep that in mind. We've got to, even if we're over inventory right now, you still have to salt in a little bit of fresh, a little bit of new, and promote that. And that's what gets you out of this. By the way, right now more than ever, there are many opportunities for private label merchandise. It's easier than it used to be. It actually the minimums used to be brutal. They're not so bad now. There's a lot of really good stuff that's happening there. Okay, so something to think about. Okay, there you go. All right. Um, I wanted to give you an example of how basically some of these improvements happen, even between 2019 and 2020, even in the worst year that we can think of in a long time, right? This is an actual client with real numbers. So they were doing 2.5 million in 2019. We pushed them up a little bit to 2.6. Okay. The interesting thing though is that the gross profit got a little bit better. We got 2% more out of it. Why? Because we didn't discount. We just talked about what's new, fresh, exciting, fun. What is the best inventory to have, and make sure that people understand that we have new, fresh, fun, and exciting, cool inventory, not just old stuff that's been around. Okay, but the main thing we did was at the same time we lowered the average inventory from 768 to 681. About $87,000, which means their gross margin return on investment went from $2.29 to $2.63, or 15% improvement. But the main message from this whole screen, okay, honestly, is, well, wow, okay, I did a little bit more business, but I did it with less inventory. And I did it with better margins. Now, that may seem miraculous to you, but it's based on planning it the right way. It's based on saying, what am I going to sell? What am I going to focus on? What categories do I really believe in? Okay, where am I sitting on inventory and how do I turn this thing faster? It's also based on better vendor negotiations. It's based on saying, look, I want to do more business with you, but these are the price points I have to be at. Okay, that's how this happens. Okay, doesn't happen any other way. All right. This to me is more important than anything else. Okay, it's more important than driving crazy marketing things. Retailers always talk to me about the importance of marketing. Don't get me wrong, marketing is important, but a retail store doesn't have any better marketing than having the right inventory. And you can see that you can drive more inventory with better margins and drive more sales by doing it with lower inventory. As crazy as that sounds, it's a real thing. All right. Now I want to talk a little bit about cash margin, because it's a stat that most people don't look at, and it's a really important one. Okay, so cash margin basically is this. Let's pretend you buy $2,000 worth of inventory, and you hope to sell it for $5,000, 2.5 times markup, not anything super crazy. Okay, my planned margin for that is $3,000, right? 5,000 minus 2,000. Now, what happens? Well, maybe I only sell $4,100. Why? Maybe I take some markdowns. Maybe there were some giveaways like a gift with purchase. Maybe some of the goods were damaged. Maybe they weren't sold. Maybe I took some home for me. There's a lot of reasons why that could happen. But that means that your actual cash margin, the cash that you produced, is the $4,100 you sold minus the $2,000 you spent. So your cash margin is $2,100. So you could turn to a vendor and say, listen, I planned for $3,000. I only got $2,100. I'm short $900. What can we do about that? Okay. So, and you do that by doing something called the vendor scorecard. Okay. Now, the vendor scorecard is something we can create for you easily in the point of sale system that you have with IMS. Okay. If you don't have one, let us know. We'll get it for you. Okay. But basically, it runs by department class, subclass, and then style. Okay. And I'll show you an example of one here in a moment. Okay. You may discover as you go through this interesting things about your key vendors. They may be good in one department, maybe bad in another. Okay, they may have great turns in one, but we have to take tremendous discounts there. But we have turns in another, but we don't. You know, you're going to find that sometimes they're good in tops, not good in bottoms. Okay, the purpose of the vendor scorecard is to figure out where we did well, where we didn't do well, to help you negotiate with your vendors about things that you need, but also to identify problems and opportunities with those vendors. Okay, that's what that's all about. So it is your best negotiating tool with them, okay? Let's look at a real vendor scorecard. I realize this is a little bit small, but bear with me on this. If you look at it, it's got your department here. It's got a description of what the styles are, okay? It's got what did I receive in units? What was my planned initial retail? What did I spend in terms of cost? What was my planned initial markup? Then what did I actually sell? Units, real retail dollars, cost dollars, and my maintained markup. Right? So if I look at this very first one that we're looking at right here and look at this department, I landed 28 casual dresses, hoping for 82.66 at retail, 37.98 cost, 54% initial markup. I sold 21 of them. Now you might look at that and go like, okay, well, 3/4 sell through, 75% sell through. That's not too terrible. Okay. But what happened? Well, I only sold 47.29. I only had a 37% markup because I took some big markdowns over here, and I still have 11 to get through because I probably had some from a prior season, right? Now, when I look at this, if I was bringing them in at 82.66 and selling them for 37.90, it means I had like about a $4,500 roughly cash margin that I was planning for here. But since I only sold 47.29, I only got $1,000 of that. I'm short a whole bunch of money here. Right? Okay, well, maybe as I look at these dresses, maybe I bought the wrong ones. Maybe my customer doesn't like casual dresses. Maybe I bought too many dresses. I'm too wide. I'm not narrow and deep. Because not everything had markdowns. So maybe, and I picked out styles that customers didn't like. Maybe the price points weren't right, etc. It becomes an important discussion to have, and it also becomes a discussion of like, okay, well, I still have all these other dresses that are still here. What are we going to do about those, right? And if you look at the very bottom of this, right, my planned margin with this vendor was 94.71, right? I spent 79.45. If you look at the receiving it cost, hoping to get 17.416. My actual cash margin is 35.01 because I sold 11.446. I still spent that 79.45, right? That didn't go away. So I'm short about $6,000 in cash margin. That's a good conversation to have with a vendor, right? You then turn to that vendor and say, hey, you know what? I didn't get what I was hoping to get out of this thing. What do we do about that? Now they may trade you out. They might trade you out. Maybe they sponsor a sales contest. Maybe they offer spiffs to your employees. Maybe they help you with some co-marketing, that kind of thing. There may be a lot of things that happen. Okay. The important thing is that, you show this to them and it's real numbers that they can look at and see what they're doing. Because, if you show it to your rep, they're certainly going to be looking at that going, okay, well, how am I going to sell more merchandise to these guys if you got killed this way, right? You'll also find that if you do this vendor scorecard with your reps on a regular basis, what you may also find is that they're going to get smarter about what kind of merchandise they provide for you. Okay, if they realize that they're going to face this vendor scorecard at the end of every season, they may kind of go, well, you know what? I don't just dump a whole bunch of goods there because I'm going to get asked a whole bunch of questions I don't necessarily want to answer. Right? So they're going to be. I find that some vendors are really good about this. And by the way, there will be some vendors who just go, yeah, I'm sorry about this. There's nothing I can do. Okay, won't trade you out, won't participate in the markdown, won't give you terms on invoices, won't give you free shipping. They just won't do stuff, right? Okay, that doesn't mean you don't buy from them ever again. It means that I just have to know that, and by knowing that, it means I have to um, I have to be careful about what I'm doing with them, and I don't have a get out of jail free card. That's all. Okay. All right. Um, so just to wrap up this whole inventory thing, because it's probably the thing I feel most strongly about. It's the thing I'm probably the most passionate about. First of all, you must turn faster. Right now, while the economy is trying to find its legs and trying to find its way back up, and there's all kinds of talk about what's happening, stimulus money, PPP money, EIDL money, all that stuff that's happening. We still have to turn faster now to preserve our cash flow. Okay, we have to, and by the way, that's a lesson we're going to learn not only now but ongoingly. It's going to continue to be important. It's always been important. It's just more and more important even now. Okay, got to turn faster. Got to plan my end of season inventories. I got to fight for every margin opportunity. Got to talk to these vendors about what we can do on that. Okay, use the vendor scorecard that I just showed you to negotiate and win. And I put this lesson about having an Uncle Dan in the business. If you can't figure out the vendor scorecard, talk to your Uncle Dan. I'm here to help you. Okay. I'm happy to run some of them with you, look at it with you, figure out what we might say to those vendors, what we might do to negotiate a little bit, what we might do to make that better. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some marketing things. Okay. So if you thought the marketing was crazy before this, right? I mean, what happened as a result of the pandemic was everybody jumped into the online world as fast as they could get there, right? And because the only way to talk to people became Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing, that area got super noisy. Okay, the things that we see that work nicely there are live events on Instagram, live events on Facebook, tons of emails. I'll talk about that more in the beginning there. But here's the main thing. The main thing is that it's noisy in terms of the social media and the digital marketing, and you have to be equally noisy with that. Okay, you must match their volume. So lots of postings all the time, lots of live events, lots of video. It's gonna be the next thing I talk about. Lots of all of those things that remind our customers that we are here, that we're live, that our store is still their favorite store, that we're part of their community, etc. Okay, you have to make sure that you are continuing the volume and continuing to press in the same way. All right. Now, first, the message has to be right. It's not about discounting. I said that before. I may say that 10 more times in the midst of this webinar. But it's not about discounting. It's about fresh, new, fun product, and that our store is the safe, fun place to be. Okay? You really want to be right now the ray of sunshine in and amongst all of this insanity. You absolutely want to be the ray of sunshine. Super important. Don't get wrapped up in the noise and the negativity and that sort of stuff. Talk about fun, new, fresh product that you have, and make them feel like there's some level of normal coming back. Okay, it's about all of those things. So that's the message. And I think sometimes in the world of social media, we get so focused on the postings, we forget that we have to think about what the messaging really ought to be and what it should be. That's what the message needs to be. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to talk about video. People sometimes freak out at me about the video, but here's the thing. You may not know this, but the number one search engine on the planet is Google. You knew that, I'm sure. The number two search engine on the planet is YouTube. Plus, if you haven't read any of this stuff, the stories that exist on both Facebook and Instagram have a much higher engagement rate than the static posting does. So it's time to do video. Now, let me say this about video. What you don't want is you don't want some Steven Spielberg fancy music background, fade in, well scripted, lots of graphics. You don't need any of that. Okay. Frankly, the more raw and the more personal it is, the better. If you just bust open your smartphone and just videoed you on the floor with some product that you got in that you love, that you believe in, and it's just you talking about it, that's going to be far more effective than any other super glossy, crazy video that's going on. Okay, so and they want to see you. You know what? You're the celebrity of the store, whether you like it or not. So I realize that people get a little bit wigged out about the whole idea about being on video and performing live and stuff like that. You know what? just be yourself. People want to see you. That's just the truth of it, okay? Make it personal. Make it fun. Be yourself. Be that pillar in the community. Be that ray of sunshine in the video. It's going to make a huge difference, all right? So I wrote on this slide about videos and live events. Just do it, okay? People talk about it for forever. The way you do it is you sit down, you map out a schedule, you pick the dates for the next 3 months, okay? You schedule it for the next 3 months, and you just do it. Figure out what's coming in that you want to show, figure out what you want to promote, figure out what you want the people to see, and just do it. Set the schedule, keep to it, make it happen. And you know what? If you do a bunch of live events and nobody shows up, it doesn't matter. Record them, put them on YouTube, learn how to hashtag them properly. That's a whole other conversation. But learn how to hashtag them so people find them, and let people find you. You know, the more that you do on video, the better. It is just where the marketing dollars need to go now. It's where your effort needs to go. By the way, if you haven't done so already, it's a really good idea to create a YouTube channel for your own store. It takes you seconds, it's free, and put all of your videos in your YouTube channel. You'll be amazed how people find you as a result of that. It's true though, okay? And again, more natural, more raw, the better. Honestly, if you just took out your phone and a new box of merchandise came in and you just cracked open that box and opened it in front of everybody live on video with whatever mistakes you make, would be far more effective and far better than any super glossy, crazy video you might do. All right. On top of that, on top of video, the other thing I want to tell you is that email marketing is still number one in terms of driving sales at brick and mortar retail. Don't have to believe me on it. Check out NRF, check out the Direct Marketing Association of America. They will tell you email marketing trumps everything. It beats all social media. I'm not telling you not to do the social media stuff. You have to. You absolutely must. Okay. But email marketing drives sales more than anything else. So you still want to do a lot of that. Watch your open rate, watch your click through. Some people worry about doing too much email. They worry about the unsubscribe rate, that kind of thing. As long as you're under 2% in your unsubscribes, you're doing great. Keep going. If you get over 2%, then yeah, you are annoying people. But if you're below 2%, don't worry about it. Keep going. And the people that unsubscribe, that go away, don't let that bother you either. They probably weren't customers and they aren't doing it. Look, in the time that I've done this webinar with you, Nordstrom's has probably emailed me 3 times. Okay, I'm still on their list. So, I think it's really important to keep that email traffic going. I'm about to show you some math examples of the importance of email marketing. So watch this with me, okay? This is a real customer, real numbers. He had an email list of about a little over 8,000 names. By the way, that doesn't happen overnight, obviously, right? He's been collecting it. Every time someone comes in, tries to get them on the email list, tries to get them going, tries to get it working. That's all part and parcel of managing an email list, and it's very, very important. So we got to keep adding names to that list, okay? He's got an open rate of about a little over 22%, which means that about 1,800 people got the message that he sent out when he sent it out. Okay, and of those 1,800, his click-through rate's about 5%. 400 people ended up on the website and looked around. Whether they bought or not, that's another thing. Okay, but at least 400 people started looking at his website. Now, his unsubscribe rate was about 1.5%, or about 112, 115 customers. Okay, so think about that for a minute. You might freak out and go like, "Oh my God, 112 people walked away." My answer to you is, so what? Look, if I lose 112 people that probably weren't my customer and weren't listening anyway, but I got 1,800 people to hear my message, and I got 400 of those people to actually shop, I'll do that all day and trade those other 112 people that probably aren't customers anyway. Because who knows, the next one I send out an email, some of those 1,800 that look at it again, they may shop this time. That's how you grow this business. I can't emphasize that enough. The email marketing is super important. So I believe you email once or twice a week right now. And obviously, when you're in peak season, it's going to be more than that. But I think you got to do more. You got to do that. Again, it comes down to sitting down and scheduling that and making all that happen. All right. So, I think you email 2 or 3 times a week. At least 1 or 2, but somewhere in that range. You got to do social media postings every day. Some of you do multiple postings a day. That's good too. Videos. Got to get those stories going. It's the way to drive it. But as much as I'm recapping on this screen, if you take nothing else away from the marketing section, it's 2 emails a week, lots of video. All right. Get your own YouTube channel. Cross-promote other businesses, by the way. I have lots of people that do that. So, like, let's just say you're near a restaurant. One of the great ideas that I've heard in terms of marketing is I had a men's store, and what they did was they did an email blast, and they said for being such a great, they were right next to a Chinese food restaurant, and they said for being such a great customer of ours, here's a free appetizer at the Chinese food restaurant. Worked it out with the Chinese food guys. The Chinese food guys sent them a mailing out to their email list and said, for being such great customers, here's a percentage off at the men's store. They cross-promoted each other's businesses, and it worked for both of them. Definitely worthwhile play. Okay, but the main thing is not to worry about discounting. Show that your store is open, that you're safe, that you're fresh, that you're fun, that you have great stuff going on. Okay, and lastly, I want to talk a little bit about selling. Okay, now is the time to consider getting the best staff you can get. Now, look, this is going to sound cruel and mean, and I don't mean it that way, but look, with everything that's happened in other industries, not retail, there are a lot of people that are on the street, right? A lot of unemployment claims, et cetera. And there are people that don't want to do unemployment. There are people that want to work. And there are great service people that come from other industries that could be in the retail industry. So do not get pressed into well, they got to know something about fashion, or they got to understand my segment, or they got to know everything there is to know about pet retailing if you're a pet retailer, or that kind of stuff, or nutrition, or et cetera, et cetera. You know, what you really want are people that are outgoing and willing, and the rest is trainable. Now, if you've got staff that are not outgoing and willing, that are not doing the things you want them to do, that are not adding on to sales, that are not clienteling, that are not doing those things, now is the time to look for people that want an opportunity. Okay, I'm not telling you not to be loyal to staff that are good staff. What I am telling you is that I find all too often in all the years I've worked in retail that a lot of times people just sort of settle, you know, and don't actually think about where they could do better. So now, with as many people on the street as there are, this is the time not to settle. This is the time to actually go out there and find the best of the best. Okay, and try them out. And if you're not sure about that, I really invite you to reach out to me again on that. I want on any of the points that I've talked about here. If you're not sure, I really want you to reach out to me on that one. But really, let's make sure we have the best stuff we can have. Okay, so let's upgrade our customer service. Let's make sure we have people that want to be there, that want to sell, that want to create a great experience for our customers. Okay, and again, look for outgoing and willing. We can teach anything else. All right, now. Clienteling is no longer an option, and I know this is a battle for a lot of you. You want to get your customers on the phones. You want to get your salespeople on the phone, your customers talking to them, and that sort of thing. Okay, and people seem to resist that one. I know. Don't resist it. Okay, get them to do it. And by the way, that message doesn't have to be something awful, terrible, crazy, that kind of thing. It can just simply be as simple as, hi, how you doing? Are you making it through this okay? Do you need anything? I just want to let you know that we're here. Okay. It does not have to be a hardcore sales call. Okay. In fact, it really shouldn't be. But you know what? If you get someone on the phone, you have a good conversation with them, you might make their day. You might make things happy for them. It's all ties back to that ray of sunshine idea. But this is not a time for us to sit back. This is a time for us to reach out, talk to people, tell them how happy we're making them, etc., and make it all go. Okay? All right. We have to maximize every sale. So what does that mean? I believe that means that before you open, there's a drill I like to do, and I recommend it highly, which is that just walk around the store with a salesperson, pick up an item, and go, if I was picking up this item or interested in this item, what would you add on? Okay, what else would you show me if I'm interested in this? Right. Our key right now, if we're going to have lower traffic, or if we're going to have lower capacities, when we can't have doorbuster sales, we can have gigantic crowds in the store. That means we have to maximize every individual sale that we get. Right? We do that by maximizing what? Units per transaction and average dollar sale. You want to measure that. You want to make sure people know how to measure that. Those reports exist in the POS system that IMS has provided for you. Run it, look at it, and manage your staff with it. Okay. I also put on here about the scavenger hunt idea, right? So run a report of what you've vouchered in this month. What have you received? And make your salespeople go find it so they know what's new and fresh and exciting and fun. That's all, you know? And by the way, I wouldn't be shy about asking my salespeople about ideas about things that might drive traffic. I find a lot of times that employees seem to think that all the creativity and all the ideas need to come from management. It's not the case. Some of them have really great ideas. Let's invite them to give us some. All right. But we have to maximize every sale, measure those units per transaction, measure those average dollar sales, make sure that they're actually maximizing every sale that comes in the door. All right. I think that going forward, by the way, alternative selling is going to continue. People seem to like this buy online, pick up in store, buy online, pick up at curbside, delivery, special ways to buy stuff. Certainly e-commerce is going to continue. I mean, every piece of media on planet Earth talks about e-commerce, but you know what? E-commerce is never going to take over brick and mortar. By the way, as much as they like to talk about that, it's never going to take over brick and mortar. People still want to go out and they still want to buy. And as proof of that, people have not been out and they have not been in stores. But you know what? When stores open, people are dying to get in there. Okay. So do not think in any way, shape, or form that it's only going to be about that, because it's not. It's going to be about many, many things. So, don't ignore these couple of things. Okay. Now, you've got to make sure that you've set yourself up procedurally to do all the things that are on this slide, right? How do I do buy online, pick up in store? Do I have ways to engineer that? If you're not sure about that, reach out to me, reach out to IMS. That's what we're all here to do to help you figure out. Okay. So, here's the thing I want to talk about. Let me help you is the title of this section, so bear with me on this, okay? We have a bunch of different ways that Retail Smart Guys and IMS can help you, okay? One of them is certainly our signature product is our planning, which we do in concert with IMS. It is the thing after all these years in retail that I've worked in, and I've worked in many aspects of retail. It is the thing that drives profitability. Why? Because in that very beginning inventory section that I talked about, we're planning people's sales effectively and we're planning their inventory effectively. And man, that's important. Okay. So that combined with the great point of sale system that you have at IMS is what's going to make you the kind of successful retailer you want to be. Now, the other things that are on here that are new services we added this year, by the way, are all brand new, and we did them for one reason, okay? And that is that we're not making a ton of money in these other services, but the point of them is simply this: these are administrative overhead that take you away from focusing on your inventory, your sales, your customers, and your staff. So if you're having those situations go on, I want to free you from that and get you into this. So we've got an amazing staff of bookkeepers, and we can do our bookkeeping for lower than you're paying right now, I guarantee. Same with purchase order entry. If you find yourself being bogged down by having to enter a whole bunch of purchase orders after a marketplace and you can't get it done, we will enter your purchase orders for you at below minimum wage. And we'll do it in times that you're not there, by the way. So lots of opportunities for that. And if you don't like doing the social media posting, you can't get that done, I've got a little army of people that will actually do it with you. And by the way, they're doing it for us right now. So the way that works is I don't even create the artwork on it. I just go, this is the concept I want to say, and this is the stuff I want to do. They find the graphics for me, they write the text, they do the artwork, and they post it all over the planet for me. So if those services would help, the planning one is the one that we're most focused on, and we really believe in, but these other ones are here. But they're all here to help you with any of this, okay? Now, for enduring this webinar and for enduring me yammering at you for this all the time, you get a free hour with me. All right. My contact information is there. Our website is there. That's my cell phone number. And that's my personal email. So look, if you need help with any of this, or you want to spend some time with me to understand how do I do a vendor scorecard? How do I get my inventory better? I'm worried about my cash flow. I'm worried about my expenses. I'm worried about what my rent looks like. I'm worried about my people. I'm worried about any of this kind of stuff. Reach out to me. I will help you with any of it. It will cost you nothing. Okay. One of the things we like to do is an inventory analysis, by the way. So I might do that as part of this too with you, but it's driven by you. What do you need? What would help you most right now? What's going to get you through some of these difficult situations today, right now? So please take me up on that. Please contact me about any of the things I talked about this webinar or anything having to do with retail. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make that happen. All right. So I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was meaningful for you and that you got a lot out of it, and that it gave you some action steps to take to improve your business and do everything you can do to make 2021 better than 2020. Please reach out to me. Please reach out to IMS. We're here to help you. We're here to make things better for you. I hope you have an amazing 2021, and I hope you do everything that you can do to make it not only be better than 2020, but make up for what we didn't get in 2020. So, Dan Jablons from Retail Smart Guys, one more time, thanks to my friends at IMS, Jim Schrader, Tom Schrader, and everybody there for helping me put this together, and we'll be in touch. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.